race portrays supporters of Republican Ed Gillespie as violent racists who want to murder kids. Think we're overstating? Watch this. Emily Sussman is the campaign director for the Center for American Progress Action Fund, and she joins us today. Emily, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So I watched this ad. I've seen a lot of tough political ads, over decades of watching it, and I thought, they're actually just pushing race war here. That's what this is. The single most disgusting, unfair thing I've ever seen. I'm not any great Ed Gillespie partisan at all. But, I don't see any justification for running something like that.
Well, I think the justification is the fact that it's really just putting a mirror up to the campaign that Gillespie has running. I think a lot of Republicans, I know a lot of Republicans are really disgusted with the campaign that he's been running. It's a lot of race baiting. Look, I don't know what's in his heart.
Give me one example of Ed Gillespie. Give me one example of Ed Gillespie's race baiting. By
putting the Confederate statues at the center of his campaign, by running ads that imply that most people that are immigrants are related to MS-13 or defending MS-13.
Well, he hasn't said that most people who are immigrants are connected to MS-13. I've watched it really carefully. I mean, by the way, Ed Gillespie is on the liberal scale on immigration, to put it mildly. I mean, I'm not attacking him, just saying he's nowhere near Donald Trump on immigration, or me for that matter. Where has he said most immigrants sympathize with MS-13? I've heard him say point blank, MS-13 preys upon immigrants.
Look, the ads that he is running are race baiting because they're making people fearful. They're bringing out the worst in people. They're trying to drive people to the polls. The positive comments he had made about immigration were in 2006. They were a long time ago. And I think it really shows that, look, he's really willing to say whatever it takes to sell people out and try to get votes.
You're defending an ad that has a racist driving a truck with an Ed Gillespie sticker on it trying to murder children. And you're defending it by saying Ed Gillespie is running an ad that makes people fearful? I mean, I don't think there's ever been an ad like the one we just watched. Have you ever seen anything like that?
I think we're living in an era we've never lived in before. I think what's unique about the last year is that a lot of people are coming forward with statements that used to just be dog whistles are now overt racist statements.
But what is that? If that's
based on an actual event that happened.
What did Ed Gillespie have to do with that event?
Well, I don't know what he had to do with the event necessarily.
Well, why are you tying him to it?
Because he's creating a racist environment where people are feeling emboldened. He's never disavowed President Trump saying, in the heels of the Charlotte riots, that there are good people on both sides.
Well, I haven't disavowed it either. Does that make me? It's not mine to disavow. I didn't say it.
It's not yours to disavow.
Does that make me a Klansman?
When he's running for governor of Virginia.
Disavow it? I mean, what? So refusing to disavow, whatever that means, something that somebody else said now makes you morally equivalent to what you say the first person is? This is insane.
When he's running a campaign that actually goes right to the core of it, he actually talked about our heritage when he talked about the Confederate monuments. He is actually
But it is the heritage of a lot of people in Virginia. That's a real thing. I mean, the capital of the Confederacy was in Virginia. You don't have to be for the Confederacy or racism. That's real. I mean, that happened there. I mean, what are you supposed to say about it? You're supposed to pretend that's not true?
No, but there are also massive riots where a woman died and people were beaten. The fact that he won't actually come out and say, with both his policies and the rhetoric of his campaign, this is not something that we allow. What's sort of ironic is that he actually has a campaign slogan that he's all for all Virginias. That's hardly the case.
Wait, this is actually, you're playing with fire here, and the fire is race, and you're telling voters that Ed Gillespie hates them because they're not white, and there's no evidence of that at all, and yet some people are going to watch that and believe it, and it's going to bring us closer to some real conflict based on race. It's irresponsible to run an ad like that, don't you think?
I don't see that ad saying that at all. What I see that ad saying is that it's reflecting what communities of color, Hispanic communities, are feeling by the rhetoric set by his campaign.
Maybe you should assure them it's not true, that Ed Gillespie's not going to run down their children. Isn't the responsible thing to do, if people have fears that are unreasonable, and that's an unreasonable fear, Ed Gillespie's not going to run your kids down with a truck.
No, and I don't think an ad is saying he himself will be running people down with a truck. But there's a real fear about an increase in violence. Look, we hear this from teachers.
From Ed Gillespie?
No, we hear this from teachers saying that, and we hear this in Virginia, that the violent rhetoric against students of color is increasing.
But Ed Gillespie, okay, look, that may or may not, we can debate it. But Ed Gillespie, here I am flacking for Ed Gillespie. You know, I'm not like a huge supporter of Ed Gillespie, but I'm offended by the unfairness and the creepiness and the race-baiting quality of this ad. You don't see that at all. You're suggesting that Ed Gillespie wants to kill minority children. That's not a problem.
I am not suggesting that, but I do think that it does need to be called out that this is the impact on communities of color and minority communities when you run a race-baiting campaign.
But wouldn't it be helpful to run an ad to minority communities and say, hey, you may fear that Ed Gillespie wants to kill you because you're non-white, but that's not true. That's far from the, you know, we don't agree with Ed Gillespie on a lot of things, but he's not a Klansman who's going to murder you. Wouldn't that be more helpful? Why don't you do that?
No, it would not be more helpful.
Oh, because that wouldn't help you win the race.
No,
oh, I get it.
So
it's like whatever
well, that's exactly the point.
America, no
that
problem.
He may actually have a different perspective on immigration, but he's willing to run these ads that are race baiting. That's exactly the point. He's willing to do whatever it takes.
We've defined race baiting to be like whatever we disagree with. I've noticed that because I think Ed Gillespie is way too liberal on immigration. So where does that put me?
I'd actually say that it puts you as a dissatisfied Republican who should be dissatisfied with Ed Gillespie because he'll say and do whatever it takes to try to get votes.
You got him coming and going. I'm more confused than ever. Emily, thank you.